Hi, my name is Jim Murphy. I'm the site manager at Dulwich Upper Wood, and these are some of the events that we've been carrying out in the wood with Embrace Cooperation. Improving habitats is really a general term which can be applied to all sorts of things really. In this case it was to do with improving areas that have become a little bit derelict or overgrown, and so we've been putting edging on the paths, and we put logs in the edging embedded in the ground as the edging of the path, partly to stop people going off the path but partly also to define the path so that it makes it easier for people to walk around. From an access point of view, it's important to have good paths in the wood so that people stick to those paths, and also so that they can walk around easily. Sometimes we have areas in the wood that we don't want people to go in, and this can be for various reasons. In the particular case where we were doing this fencing session, we were fencing off an area called the wild area, where it's more of an area where we leave to overgrow, and it's more of an area where we don't want people to go. It's sort of an area for wildlife predominantly. Also the area, because it has some demolished houses in it and various other holes and things in there, it's also quite an unsafe area for people to go into. In this case we actually used some recycled boards from an old pier deck that we had to make a type of wooden fencing. So we put in some posts first of all, and then attached the teak fencing, in fact it was an old teak boat deck, to the posts, and that sealed off an area that was potentially people could get through and was vulnerable to being trampled, and also could create a health and safety problem. And it went very well. We had an event out in the wood doing bird boxes, so we bought the wood for people to do it with. People were split into teams, and then they sawed up the wood into the relevant sizes and then put the boxes together to make the bird or habitat box.
I'm Rachel.
I'm Mandy.
And we Embrace Woodlands. We came here today to have a go at making lovely habitat and bird boxes. Just to kind of put them in our gardens and make them a bit more wildlife friendly.
The importance of doing bird and habitat boxes, particularly habitat boxes, which are a relatively new thing, is that people can encourage different species of birds to live in their gardens that may not have had a niche before. And habitat boxes are for insects predominantly, so you put in different things like bits of old carpet, bits of twigs to encourage insects, which in turn helps with the biodiversity of the wood particularly, and or your garden. We decided to make an area down near the garages and turn it into a woodland food area, or forest gardening as we like to call it, and we managed to get a grant from Capital Growth, and they gave us £1,000 to help us start the area off, if you like, or to develop it. And a lot of the work has been changing the area a little bit to make it into a suitable site for food growing. We did things like, first of all, clearing the vegetation, cutting down a few trees and shrubs.
This is going to be a growing area, so we're going to grow edible plants, so we need to clear the whole of the area out so we can put in beds and look after the area without the area being encroached.
Putting in a raised bed made out of logs, because that looks more natural, and to fill with soil, and that's more for traditional type of vegetables, but also medicinal herbs, etc. We had quite a lot of interest in this event from the local community as well, and quite a lot of help from different people.
I'm trying to change my career to learn more about nature and work in the outdoors, because I believe that's the best subject to study.
The first plants we got were from the Hampton Court reuse scheme, which were given to us free, which was very good, and they were sort of medicinal plants and herbs. So it has two reasons we made it really. It was firstly to show what sort of things you can grow in your garden, and secondly to show school groups and other people actually where their food comes from, that it doesn't just come from Tesco's.
People from all backgrounds want to contribute, even just for one day occasionally, so it can be very fulfilling for people to feel part of a project, however small. Thought, well, there's always something new to learn, so decided to come along.
With this workshop we did access and step construction. The reason being for steps in this case was because a lot of the wood is on very steep slopes, and there's no way that we could put a slope in on that area, it would be far too steep. The rounded steps that they put in 10 or 20 years ago, now you wouldn't be allowed to do that because they'd just be a health and safety problem. And also the steps were starting to rot away, the wood was rotting and it was getting generally a bit run down. So we decided to replace them with some different steps, and it involved taking out the old steps first and then putting in some new steps using sort of slightly newer and non-rounded wood, and then putting in some what we call stobs, which are the stakes, if you like, that you use to hold the steps in place, and then filling in the steps behind to make a more substantial step. And also we did them more the width of the actual path so that they were safer and more easy to use really. It's all part to do with improving the look of the wood and making it more accessible for everybody.